going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 131 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today, I welcomed a Sacramento, California native. He's a producer, singer, and a songwriter. His name is Tommy G. I connected with Tommy G over on Instagram a while back, discovered his song Blue World, and we've been chatting it up ever since, and I got him on the podcast this week. We discussed his early days in the collective called O9 Productions. He talked about how that was just, a close-knit group of his friends from high school, just experimenting with different sounds and trying things out in music. He talked about his beginnings in FL Studio, learning to produce, already coming from a background of playing piano and things like that, and kind of what he learned from that transition, all the way up until now, releasing these singles that's eventually going to lead to the release of the Blue World EP. So he already dropped a few songs. Blue World was one of them. Under the Body's another one. He talked about the story that went into making this project, and the other singles that he has lined up for the end of this year and early next year as well. So definitely looking forward to everything that Tommy is doing, and big congrats to him on, going to school, trying to pursue an education in music, trying to learn more about branding, things like that. I definitely think that's very important and something that artists who want to be taken seriously will do. I think he's definitely someone that's going to be around for a long time. And once again, thanks to him for his time. I really hope you guys enjoy this one as always. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, welcome everyone to episode 131 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today we have a great singer, songwriter, producer out of Sacramento, California. Tommy G is here. How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And once again, thank you for, agreeing to be on the show today. And I'm excited because, we haven't got to formally talk like this, I don't think, yet. So it's going to be, a good show to kind of get to know more about you. And that's kind of how we start off each episode, is just, have the guest give some background, how long have you been doing music, what kind of got you started in it, and all the basic stuff for people that might not be familiar with you and what you do.
All right, cool. So growing up, just started taking piano lessons as a kid. It's kind of forced upon me by my parents, and wasn't really super into it. I like pop punk stuff and hardcore rock when I was in middle school and that sort of thing. And then in high school, I met a lot of friends, and they were freestyle rapping at parties and stuff, and I was just fascinated with the lyricism. I was like, oh, I want to write cool stuff like that. And then just started getting into all the production stuff, and then those piano lessons came in handy with all the MIDI and all that sort of thing. So became very thankful for all the lessons that were forced upon me as a child.
Yeah.
And then just started kind of exploring every facet of the creative process for music, and built a home studio when I was in high school, with a vocal booth and that sort of thing. And my house is kind of like the hangout spot for all the friends. Come over, just kick it, record tracks, have fun in the studio and that sort of thing. And producing beats, mixing a little bit, writing my own stuff, recording myself, and just kind of kept going from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing this on and off now for about 15 years.
Yeah. Man, that's
just really
that's
the past 2 years really just started going at it pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, that's super awesome to hear, man. It's kind of like one of those, one thing leads to another type of thing. Like you were in the lessons early on, and then it ended up leading to where you are now, all the way through the years. So obviously piano lessons as a kid and everything, that's, like you said, it really wasn't something that you had in mind, but you just kind of got led to it through your parents and everything. When you started getting into, let's just say, the production side, what do you think are the primary differences when you started out? Because I don't know what you produce on, if you're in Logic or Ableton or whatever. How did you kind of transition from doing something like piano to kind of incorporating that into a DAW and getting ideas off in there?
Well, I started just making beats in Fruity Loops before I was even really recording vocals. And it was just taking little motifs of things I'd been learning, and 4-bar things, trying to write something similar to that, and just picking out chords that I thought went well together, and then adding drums and percussion, and then layering it with pads and that sort of thing, and just kind of building a imagination and seeing where the song took me.
Yeah. So for those like early beats, did you always have in mind that you were gonna write to them as well, and then eventually lay the vocals? So that kind of just led one thing to another as well for that, or were you just making beats thinking I might get some artists on these eventually, or was it always just with yourself in mind?
Um, I was just kind of having fun and just trying to figure it out. I was just fascinated
Hmm.
by the whole thing, really. And yeah. I mean, I would end up having my friends jump on some. I would just be excited and be like, hey, just check this new beat out that I made. And like, oh, that one's cool. I like that one. Let's do a song to that one. And they might record to it, or we both might be on it, or just me sometimes. But that's kind of
Yeah.
how it went.
Yeah, and that's usually the way to do it because I kind of remember because I'm FL Studio as well. I haven't left that since I started, so it's kind of just like you fall into it and you just keep going, and each day you kind of learn something new, and just see like where it goes. But I think that's the best way to do it sometimes because I think even when like you get really good at music and you start knowing what you're doing a lot more, you kind of tend to get into the more like technical aspect of things. But I think a lot of people they forget to have fun. They forget to keep the fun in the music and just kind of experiment and see where it goes. So I think that's always something to kind of keep in mind as well. Is to just no matter like what stage you're at, just kind of continue to experiment, continue to do cool things. And yeah, when you're starting out, sometimes you don't even know what you're doing, so you're just twisting knobs and like adding in different progressions, seeing what
Yeah,
works, and
totally.
like sometimes you'll go back on something old and be like, wow, that's bad, but like I was having fun, so can't be all
Exactly. Yeah.
bad. So that's awesome. So obviously you were in I think a collective called O9 Productions as well. So
Yep. That's right.
talk about that. Kind of what did that entail? What was your kind of role in that, and what did you learn from that as well?
So that was just me and a bunch of my friends. Our graduating year in high school was 2009, so that's kind of how it came about. But we coined it '09, like OH9, like '09, just to have a
I
little
like
more
that.
fun with it. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of rappers, some people doing the production and recording stuff as well, making beats, and then had some friends who were, more singer songwriter on guitar and that sort of thing, and we, incorporate them on the hook sometimes to kind of get that kind of pop hip hop thing going, and just yeah, the creative energy of like having a whole group of like people who are talented at that, or just interested and excited about it, and like let alone like are a bunch of your best friends. Like that's just like the best atmosphere
Hmm.
for creativity to really grow.
Yeah. I also feel like I look back at that time in music, like 2008, 2009, 2010, there was a lot of different things going on, like cross genres, like even the stuff you heard on radio. It was a lot of like rock mixed with hip hop, and punk was still big, and like all these different like genres kind of people were just having fun with it. They were just kind of just doing their thing and everything. So it kind of sounds like that was the same for you guys. You were just experimenting and seeing like what you could come up with. So I think that's definitely cool to hear. And for Sacramento specifically, because I don't know if I've talked to an artist from the Sacramento area. I've talked to people from, San Francisco, LA, those types of places. So, like, what is maybe even back then, but nowadays, what do you think is the kind of the music climate for where you're at as far as like the music scene? What kind of artists are there out there? Are there a lot of people that you've connected with who you've kind of like gelled with and had good energy with, and you've been able to collaborate with them? Or has it kind of just been you doing your own thing recently, just kind of seeing where that can go and making connections where you can?
Yeah, so it's mostly been just me doing my own thing. I know some people out there, some producers, a couple artists, but I've been kind of silent in the past few years in terms of putting out music and that sort of thing. And I actually I'm in Sacramento right now, but I live in the Bay Area in Marin right now, so I'm a little disconnected from the scene. But
Mm,
taking some music business courses up here, so
yeah,
I stay at my folks during the middle of the week
yeah.
up in Sacramento here.
Nice, man. So what's that been like then? If you're taking like music courses, how do you think that's helping you kind of learn new things, maybe on the business side, to kind of apply to your own career?
Yeah, like a course I took last spring. it's like a artist management course. And I mean, one of the really valuable things I learned from that was like writing bios and creating like a professional EPK and that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like we had like a fictional artist we were doing for the class, but like for every assignment, I would like apply it to my own, myself as an
Yeah.
artist. And at the end of the semester, I had an EPK I was pretty happy with.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool. And then just learning about business law and licensing and that different sort of stuff. I graduated with my associates in recording arts just this past spring. So yeah, definitely was honing in the production skills and that sort of thing. Like learning from someone who's like won a bunch of Grammys and that sort of thing. It's pretty cool to
Yeah.
see the progress and all
And
that.
I think that's great too because you're constantly trying to learn different sides of the whole big like circle because it's honestly like even being an artist it's like a lot of people only focus on the art part and they have a hard time trying to figure out the business side or like how to promote themselves, how to get opportunities and things like that. But I think like aligning yourself to educate yourself the way you feel fit, that's always a great thing to do. Because eventually, you'll look back on what you learned and be like, that was very helpful, that experience. And now I can apply that to what I'm doing now. And then as you continue to grow, you just keep applying at each stage of your career and everything. So I think that's like, because obviously a lot of people, especially artists, they don't look at it as like, they look at like traditional education as like, nah, I don't really want to do that. But it's like for some people that is helpful and it can be of benefit to you moving down the line. So I think that's great to hear that you kind of been doing that and it's been working out for you. So congrats on that. Early congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I do want to get into some of your music, specifically the recent stuff you've been doing, because like you said, you've been putting out a lot of singles. Blue World, obviously, I was vibing with that the other day again, man.
Nice.
So love that record. And I know you just dropped one on Friday too, this past week. So kind of just
That's right.
discuss some of those songs and like what is that going to be building towards, and what's kind of the plan for that music.
So right now, the singles I'm dropping, they're all part of a project. It's called Blue World. So it's a 6-track EP, and I was just like, how am I going to release this? Am I going to put out one single and then the full EP, or two singles and then EP? And I just decided, I want to, stay consistent, and I ended up just deciding to put them all out as singles, and then I'll package it as a full EP later. So that's kind of what you can expect, like a cohesive thing. A lot of the inspiration comes from me getting sober like 2 years ago. So you hear a lot of talk about recovery and addiction in there, and dealing with depression, and just growing up and changing with life and trying to improve and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super great to hear that you're channeling the real life stuff into the music as well, because I think that will be very relatable to a lot of people. And I could just hear from listening to some of the songs, like you're trying different things, and I like kind of I think it's Under the Bodie, right, is the new one. You
Yes,
had like
yes.
that like acoustic in there and everything, and I'm like I kind of like the direction of that, and you're messing around with different melodies. You got some rhymes in there, like I really like what you're doing with the style and everything, and especially the branding, like the cover art. I don't know if you do your own cover art, but I like how all the cover art's kind of like fitting together, making like a story. I feel like, at least from like a listener's perspective. So I don't know how like true that is, but
Yeah, I mean, well, I try to make the cover art like representative of the song and that sort of thing, and like there's kind of a whole blue theme going on with each one of these singles. I did the cover art for this most recent one, but I generally reach out to some other graphic designers and that sort of thing who
yeah,
are far more talented than I am in that area.
yeah. Yeah, it's like I feel that too because like I for my stuff I usually make like the artwork for my own self releases, but if I have like a certain idea, I'm like I got to get somebody who does this for like their that's like their full thing. So I kind of feel that as well. You kind of got to
Yeah,
get
kind of
someone
like
to
sketch it out a little bit,
yeah,
send them some color schemes and
bring
that
the
sort of thing.
bring the vision out. Like you send them like this drawing and you're like, "Can you do something like this?" And then they make something like so much better than what you thought. You're like, "Thank you."
It just pops
Yeah.
off the screen, and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa.
Exactly. So yeah, but definitely commend you to the kind of just making that a story, like a full on thing. And I'm excited to see like when the EP comes out, how it's all going to sound together, because I think that's kind of it's almost like giving chapters of a book, kind of just giving one chapter at a time, right? And then putting them together makes the full story at the end. So I'm excited to see, whenever it comes out, how that all sounds cohesively together and everything. And congrats on that as well. And congrats on, 2 years sober as well. That's incredible, man. So I commend you for that as well. So, let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned you're learning more about EPKs, things like that, branding. I know that you've been pretty active on like social media lately, Instagram. I think you have a TikTok. I don't want to like quote myself on that, but I think you do. How's that been to kind of experiment there, just to kind of, get your voice out there to a new audience, show them the music you're putting out, and just get to connect with different people? Like, how has that been recently?
Yeah, I mean, social media has been a great spot for me. I mean, it's where I met just my mixing engineer who's been working on all my stuff for the past year, Newborn Noise. He's a great dude. He produces awesome stuff, makes some sick beats too, and he's also a pretty dope rapper. And yeah, I mean, just finding other artists and that sort of thing. I mean, even if for collabs, but even if it's just to connect and support each other, that's really good. I feel like everybody needs kind of a little network like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And just have people you can reach out to and ask for help, because I like to experiment and be able to learn a little bit about everything and do everything a bit, but juggling all of that stuff yourself is very, very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good to work with a team of people that you can rely on and you like their stuff, and it elevates your art.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about building that community. So
Totally.
definitely 100%. So I don't know if you've been doing any like live shows recently, or you've had the opportunity to perform any of the new songs. It could be like in California or elsewhere. Are you looking to do something like that soon? Maybe like do a festival or some type of live show just to kind of show people what you've been doing and hopefully reach another new audience as well.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking to get into a little more in the future. I've really been big into performing in the past. I don't have any plans to do anything yet. My mixing engineer is still working on like the live versions of all the mixes and that sort of thing. So kind of need to get those ready. But yeah, it's something I'm definitely interested in exploring a little more in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, keep me posted if you ever have anything. Like I'm planning on coming out to California again eventually, so I'm trying to connect with different people. And if you ever have like a show when I'm around, man, let me know because I'd
Definitely, we'll
love to
do.
pull up.
You're out in Ohio, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Midwest, pretty far, but
Nice. My mom's family's from Ohio. We used to go out there every summer to visit and go spend a day up at
yeah.
Cedar Point
Okay,
Park.
yeah,
You ever
yep.
been there?
Man, I haven't been to Cedar Point in about 8 years, but I have been there. So
Yeah, I was a roller coaster junkie when I was a
yeah,
kid.
that's cool, man. And Cedar Point's like that's like the one of the biggest things up here. There's not much other than that, a few other things, but summertime's the time to come up here. Like I was telling someone last week, I was like, we're reaching that point now where the weather's taking a dive. No one wants to come here. Like unless you're coming
It's
here in the
cold, yeah.
summertime, yeah, it's gonna get pretty bad here soon. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, I take it one day at a time up here. But what else can we expect for you? Let's just say, because obviously we have like 2 full months left of the year. What else can we expect from you to close out 2022? And then, what else can we expect from 2023, like early on, like January, February?
Okay, so the next single, it's called Fantasy. It's kind of a story about going from addiction into recovery, and that's releasing November 11th. And then I have another track called Workaholic. It's kind of about like managing perfectionism, realizing that sometimes it's better to take one step back so you can take two steps forward. That's releasing early December. And then I have a song called Ecstasy, MDMA. It's more about like being able to like love yourself, and then you can find love for others and rediscovering love and that sort of thing. That releases at the end of December, and then I'll drop the full EP in January sometime. And then after that, I have two singles called Magic and Sunday Blues that I produced and mixed and mastered myself and did all the artwork for. And then I have a few more singles that are being mastered right now. And then I got a bunch of tracks that are already recorded and need the production work on. So yeah, really just trying to meet some new producers to stay on top of the mixing, because I'm really just trying to push myself and stick with this single release every 3 weeks kind of thing right now.
Yeah, man. Well, looking forward to all of that. And by the time this episode's out, a couple of those songs will be out. So everyone make sure to go check those out as well. So, definitely looking forward to hearing all that new music, man. So last few questions here. And these are ones I ask on every episode. And the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
What's been a huge change for me is, really taking time to learn about all the marketing side of things. I think that's something I would tell myself to investigate when I was younger. Because, I got, you'd put songs up on SoundCloud and that sort of thing, or YouTube, and you're so excited, and, they don't really do much, and it's such a disappointment. And you got to realize that there's this whole other side of the coin to explore in terms of the marketing and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. You can have fun with it too.
Yeah, I feel that, because I think it's been about 4 or 5 years now since I started kind of diving into that side of things. And at first I was like, I'm gonna hate all of this, but then the more you do it and the more it becomes like part of your daily routine, you're like, this is fun. I can experiment with this. I have the creative control to kind of figure out like where my audience is and just shift it as time goes on. And I think you're right, because we're talking about like 2012. So like, you got to think about how different things were back then compared to how they are now. It's like, you could have just shifted, like, who knows where it would have went. But I think it's like, you got to look at the timing too, of like all these things happen in the right time as well. But that's definitely something. I hadn't heard that one before, but I really like that one a lot. And then,
I mean, back then, Instagram was like just coming out, and that sort of thing. So it would have been like, hop on there, like make performance videos.
Yep. And that was back when Instagram was still like photo based, like hardly any videos.
I don't even know if they had videos yet.
Yeah, crazy. So if we flip that then and we say, 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in your life and your career?
10 years from now, I just want to keep growing as an artist and stay consistent, and continue to find my fan base and meet other artists I can collaborate with and that sort of thing. I am about to start a bachelor's program for recording arts and some more music business stuff. So hopefully you can finish that up in the next 2.5 years. And I just started a small business for mixing and mastering and that sort of thing. Just getting my first few clients. So just want to keep building that and helping other artists with their career and their music.
Nice, man. Super awesome. Super awesome. So do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Words of wisdom. Oh, man. I think just, taking your time and being patient and trusting the process, as cliche as that is, that always seems to be really helpful. Just taking it one day at a time. What can you do right now? A lot of stuff's out of your control. You can't work on things that are tomorrow or yesterday. Just, try to be present and in the moment and go with the flow and do the best that you can.
Yeah. Gotta trust it's all gonna work out, and just patience is definitely the key. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, man, Tommy, that's all I have for you today. I appreciate it once again. Looking forward to all the new music. Congrats on school. Congrats on everything you got going for you, man. And we'll have to do this again really soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate everything, man.
Thanks, guys, for listening today. That was episode 131. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform. If you'd like to send any funds, feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.